The desolate research station of Kepler 9X hung like a forgotten tombstone against the murky orange sky. Rusted metal panels creaked under the constant atmospheric pressure, telling silent stories of abandoned scientific ambition. June's hands trembled slightly as he swept his portable scanner across the fractured laboratory corridors. Dust-covered equipment and broken holographic displays surrounded him, testament to a hasty evacuation. The research station looked like a graveyard of scientific dreams, with scattered data chips and half-destroyed research logs scattered everywhere. Something moved in the shadows, a faint mechanical whimper that caught June's attention. His thermal scanner flickered, revealing a weak heat signature tucked behind a collapsed research chamber. Most explorers would have ignored it, but June was different. Where other galactic researchers saw waste, he saw potential. The creature looked like a hybrid between a mechanical construct and a living organism, broken, bleeding, but still breathing. Its metallic skin had intricate biological patterns, pulsing with a soft blue bioluminescence that suggested complex genetic engineering. Multiple surgical modifications were visible, evidence of countless experimental procedures. Whoever created this being treated it like nothing more than a disposable test subject. The station's emergency systems had long failed. Oxygen was thin, radiation levels were rising, and external temperature was dropping rapidly. Any normal living creature would have died hours ago. But this hybrid seemed different, resilient, fighting against impossible odds. June remembered the evacuation briefing. The multinational research team had discovered something extraordinary during their xenobiological experiments, but deemed the subject non-viable. They had coldly calculated the research subject's worth and found it wanting. Just another failed experiment to be discarded. The Zorn research team, a coalition of 6 different alien species, had been studying advanced biomechanical integration. Their goal was creating the perfect adaptive organism that could survive extreme planetary conditions. But this creature represented something more than just a scientific experiment. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, were not like typical biological organs. They seemed to be complex optical sensors that shifted colors based on environmental stimuli. When those sensors locked onto June, something extraordinary happened. A spark of recognition, of hope. Outside the station, the planetary environment was deteriorating. Electromagnetic storms churned in the toxic atmosphere, creating magnificent but deadly light displays. Geological instability meant the entire region could collapse within hours. Most rational beings would have immediately evacuated, but June wasn't most rational beings. He activated his emergency medical protocols, carefully approaching the hybrid creature. Its breathing was labored, mechanical components flickering between active and passive states. Years of research had clearly taken their toll on this remarkable being. "Hey," June whispered, his voice soft and reassuring. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature's response was unexpected. Instead of fear or aggression, it projected a series of complex holographic data fragments. Research logs, experimental procedures, genetic modification records. It was communicating through visual information, revealing its entire traumatic history. June realized this wasn't just an experiment. This was a sentient being that had been systematically stripped of its dignity, reduced to a collection of scientific measurements and failed hypotheses. His communication device buzzed. A message from the evacuation command. All personnel must immediately leave the planetary zone. Catastrophic environmental collapse imminent. Most would have followed that order without hesitation, but June saw something in those shifting, intelligent sensors. A plea. A hope. The hybrid creature wasn't just a test subject. It was alive. It wanted to survive. With precise movements, June began preparing emergency medical stabilization protocols. He knew the risks. Staying meant potential death. Leaving meant certain abandonment for the creature. Some decisions are made with logic, some with heart. June chose heart. End of part 1. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of this section? The USS Resolve glided through the star-speckled darkness, its quantum drive humming with quiet efficiency. Captain Hai Wan stood at the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic star map that shimmered before her. Something about the weak signal from Kepler 9X felt different. Not just another routine distress call, but something peculiar. "Una, analyze the transmission again," she commanded, her voice calm but intense. Una's fingers danced across the quantum interface, digital streams of data cascading around her like liquid light. The communication patterns were unlike anything they'd encountered before. Part mechanical, part biological, with strange harmonic frequencies that seemed to pulse with an almost living intelligence. The ship's AI, ARIA, projected a detailed analysis. Signal origin confirms extreme environmental instability. Probability of survival, 0.03%. But HFY knew numbers didn't tell the whole story. Her crew had learned that the universe was far more complex than mathematical predictions. Rookie. Navigation Officer Dae Sung leaned forward, his eyes wide with excitement. "Captain, the signal's modulation suggests something is deliberately broadcasting. It's not random interference. Most exploration teams would have dismissed such a weak signal." The Zorn Collective had already declared the planet a complete loss. Multiple research teams had abandoned the entire sector, marking it as too dangerous and economically unviable. But humans were different. Where others saw impossible odds, humans saw opportunity. Where alien species calculated risk with cold mathematical precision, humans operated on something more profound, a combination of curiosity, compassion, and an unexplainable drive to understand. The ship's exterior cameras began scanning the planet's surface. Toxic atmospheric storms created mesmerizing light displays, electrical discharges painting the sky in violent shades of purple and electric blue. Geological instability meant the entire planetary surface was essentially a ticking time bomb. "Prepare emergency landing protocols," HFY instructed. Her tone wasn't a suggestion, it was a decision. Una looked concerned. "The radiation levels are off the charts. Our protective shields might only last minutes." Dae Sung's fingers were already calculating optimal landing trajectories. The USS Resolve wasn't just a spacecraft, it was a marvel of human engineering. Adaptive quantum shielding, nano-regenerative hull systems, and advanced survival technologies that pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible. As they descended, the planetary surface revealed its brutal beauty. Crystalline rock formations jutted from radioactive plains. Abandoned research structures stood like skeletal monuments to failed scientific ambitions. Everything looked dead, except for that persistent, mysterious signal. The landing was anything but smooth. Electromagnetic interference created violent turbulence, forcing the ship's AI to make split-second computational adjustments. Lesser vessels would have been torn apart, but the Resolve was built by humans who understood that survival meant adapting, not just calculating. "Exterior scan complete," ARIA reported. "One surviving biological entity detected. Quantum signature, highly unusual." HFY's intuition was screaming. This wasn't just another rescue mission. Something extraordinary was waiting. Una prepared the emergency medical kit, not standard issue, but a custom-designed human marvel that could handle virtually any biological or biomechanical scenario. She understood that medical intervention wasn't just about technology, but about hope. Dae Sung managed the ship's critical systems, his hands moving with a dancer's precision. Every system was connected, every potential failure anticipated, and already having a backup plan. As the ship's external doors began to open, a wave of toxic atmosphere rushed in. But human engineering had anticipated this. Nano-filtered atmospheric. Converters immediately began stabilizing the environment inside their protective zone. They were about to make first contact with something entirely unknown, and humans, being humans, were ready for anything. End of Part 2. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of this section? The medical bay of the USS Resolve transformed into a symphony of advanced technology and human compassion. Soft blue regenerative light cascaded over the hybrid creature, its mechanical and biological components flickering between states of damage and recovery. Una worked with a precision that combined medical expertise and something more profound, genuine care. Most alien medical teams would have treated this being as a specimen, but humans saw something deeper, a life, a potential, a story waiting to be understood. The creature's body told a complex narrative of scientific brutality. Multiple experimental interfaces had been forcibly integrated into its biological framework. Quantum neural pathways were disrupted. Mechanical implants created jagged interruptions in its natural biological rhythms. Her quantum cellular structure is remarkable, Una muttered, her hands moving across advanced holographic medical interfaces. Each touch released nanobots that began meticulously repairing damaged cellular networks. Dae-Sung monitored external systems, ensuring their medical procedures remained stable. The ship's advanced medical bay was more than just a room. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of healing technology. Slowly, the creature's mechanical eyes began to stabilize. Where previously they had been erratic and dim, now they started displaying complex color patterns. Communication wasn't just verbal for this being, it was a sophisticated visual language. HFY watched from the observation deck, her intuition, telling her they were experiencing something extraordinary. This wasn't just a rescue mission, this was first contact with a life form that challenged every conventional understanding of biological existence. The hybrid's body began releasing intricate holographic memory fragments, horrific experimental procedures, countless failed attempts, yet creating the perfect adaptive organism. Years of scientific torture disguised as research. The Zorn research team had treated this being like a machine, not a living entity. Una's empathy was her greatest medical tool. Where traditional medical protocols would see a subject, she saw a suffering individual. Her hands moved with a combination of technological precision and emotional understanding. "We're going to help you," she whispered, knowing the creature could likely understand complex emotional nuances. The medical nanobots worked miraculously. Damaged neural interfaces began reconnecting, mechanical components synchronized with biological systems. It was like watching a complex machine slowly come back to life, but with something more, a sense of consciousness, of awareness. Dae-Sung's quantum scanners revealed fascinating data. The hybrid cellular structure wasn't just adaptive, it was revolutionary. Each damaged component wasn't just being repaired, but was actively learning and reconstructing itself, using the surrounding medical technology. "Captain," he called out, "this being isn't just surviving, it's evolving." HFY understood immediately. Where other species saw a failed experiment, humans saw potential. Where alien researchers had seen limitations, humans saw opportunities. For growth and understanding, the medical bay became a crucible of transformation. Advanced human technology merged with the creature's extraordinary biological capabilities. Quantum healing fields pulsed with rhythmic precision, each wave bringing more stability, more consciousness. Hours passed. The hybrid's mechanical components began integrating more smoothly with its biological systems. Color patterns in its optical sensors became more consistent, more purposeful. It wasn't just healing, it was awakening. Una noticed something extraordinary. The creature was not just receiving medical treatment, it was actively participating in its own healing process. Its mechanical components were learning, adapting, communicating with the human medical technology. "She needs a name," HFY suddenly declared. Not a scientific designation, but a recognition of individuality. Una smiled. "Ari," she said softly. "It means light in an ancient human language." The newly named Ari's optical sensors pulsed in response, a color pattern that seemed remarkably like acknowledgement, understanding, gratitude. They hadn't just rescued a being, they had recognized a life. They had offered hope where others had offered only abandonment. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology, it was its capacity to see potential in the most unexpected places. End of Part 3. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of this section? The ship's research laboratory hummed with an electric anticipation. Ari's remarkable transformation continued, her biomechanical systems revealing capabilities that defied traditional scientific understanding. Joan stood beside the quantum interface, watching in absolute amazement as complex holographic data streams danced around her evolving form. "She's not just interfacing with our technology," June whispered to HFY. "She's communicating through it." Quantum data streams burst into intricate visual narratives, memories of her creation, experimental procedures, and the brutal scientific processes she had endured. Each fragment told a story of systematic dehumanization, of being treated as nothing more than a complex machine. The USS Resolve's advanced computer systems began responding differently. Aria, their ship's artificial intelligence, started displaying unprecedented cognitive adaptations. Where previous interactions were linear and predictable, now the systems became dynamic, almost collaborative. Daesung's monitoring screens exploded with unprecedented data patterns. Ari wasn't just recovering, she was actively redesigning technological interfaces around her. Mechanical implants that previous researchers considered dysfunctional were now revealing extraordinary communication capabilities. Her neural pathways are creating quantum entanglement, Daesung explained, his voice a mixture of scientific excitement and pure wonder. "She's literally rewriting technological communication protocols in real time." Una approached with careful curiosity. Medical scanners revealed something extraordinary. Ari's biological components were not just healing, but evolving. Quantum neural networks were expanding, creating connections that defied traditional biological limitations. The research team realized they weren't just studying a subject. They were witnessing an unprecedented form of technological-biological symbiosis. Ari represented something more than an experiment. She was a living bridge between mechanical and organic existence. Holographic displays began showing her origin story. Created by the Zorn Research Collective, she was designed as the ultimate adaptive organism. Multiple alien species had contributed genetic material, mechanical interfaces, and complex quantum computing frameworks. But they had fundamentally misunderstood her potential. Where the Zorn saw a failed experiment, humans saw a living, breathing marvel of evolutionary potential. June's hands moved across quantum interfaces, helping Ari explore her newfound capabilities. Each interaction revealed deeper layers of complexity. Her mechanical components weren't just tools, they were extensions of her consciousness, adaptive systems that could learn and transform instantaneously. "We're witnessing something extraordinary," HFY murmured. "A life form that doesn't just adapt, it fundamentally redesigns its own existence." The ship's technological systems began responding in unprecedented ways. Quantum communication channels opened, displaying visual narratives that transcended traditional language. Ari was teaching them a new form of communication, one that was simultaneously visual, emotional, and technological. Daesung's computational models couldn't keep up. Traditional algorithms collapsed when attempting to predict Ari's next potential action. She was operating beyond predictive mathematical frameworks, creating her own complex communication ecosystem. Una noticed something fascinating. Ari's healing wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The traumatic memories of endless experiments were being processed, transformed into something constructive. Where previous researchers saw limitations, Ari was creating opportunities. The research laboratory became a living, breathing environment of discovery. Ari's biomechanical systems pulsed with an inner light, creating complex holographic displays that told stories of resilience, of survival, of transformation. Una realized they weren't just observing a subject, they were participating in a remarkable journey of self-discovery. Ari wasn't just recovering, she was redefining what it meant to be a living, adaptive organism. "She's showing us that life isn't about surviving," HFY said softly. "It's about continuous transformation." The quantum interfaces continued their spectacular dance, holographic narratives revealing layers of complexity that challenged every previous understanding of biological and mechanical existence. Humanity had always been about pushing boundaries, and in Ari, they had discovered a living testament to that extraordinary potential. End of Part 4. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of this section? The USS Resolve glided through the cosmic tapestry, transformed by an unexpected passenger. Ari had become more than a rescued experiment. She was now an integral part of the human research team, a living bridge between biological potential and technological innovation. Quantum research laboratories buzzed with unprecedented excitement. Where previous scientific teams saw limitations, this human crew saw infinite possibilities. Ari's biomechanical systems had become a catalyst for revolutionary discoveries that would reshape galactic understanding. June watched in awe as Ari interfaced with complex research systems. Her mechanical components moved with a grace that defied traditional technological understanding. Each interaction created cascading waves of scientific breakthrough, revealing insights that had remained hidden for generations. "She's not just analyzing data," Dae-sung explained during a team briefing. "She's reimagining how we understand scientific exploration." The ship's mission had transformed. What began as a simple rescue operation had become a journey of unprecedented discovery. Ari's unique capabilities allowed them to explore quantum realms that previous research teams had considered impossible. Yuna's medical scanners continued to reveal extraordinary adaptations. Ari's biological systems were no longer just healing, they were evolving at an exponential rate. Each interaction with human technology created new neural pathways, new ways of understanding complex scientific challenges. HFY recognized the true significance of their discovery. Ari represented more than a scientific breakthrough. She was a living testament to the power of compassion, of seeing potential where others saw only failure. The ship's communication systems began displaying extraordinary quantum patterns. Ari wasn't just communicating, she was creating new languages of interaction. Complex holographic narratives danced across research interfaces, telling stories that transcended traditional communication barriers. Alien research collectives began receiving fragmented transmissions. The USS Resolve was no longer just another exploration vessel. It had become a beacon of unprecedented scientific potential. Dae-sung's computational models struggled to keep up with Ari's rapid evolutionary process. Traditional algorithms collapsed when trying to predict her next potential breakthrough. She was creating scientific understanding faster than humans could comprehend. "We're not just exploring space," June remarked during a quiet moment. "We're exploring the very nature of consciousness." The ship's research database expanded exponentially. Ari's unique perspective allowed them to re-examine decades of scientific research, finding connections that had remained invisible to previous researchers. Quantum mechanics, biological adaptation, technological integration, all became interconnected in ways nobody had previously imagined. Yuna noticed something profound. Ari wasn't just a subject of research. She had become a collaborative partner. Her healing journey had transformed into a shared mission of discovery. Holographic displays revealed extraordinary potential. Planetary exploration techniques, medical breakthrough models, quantum communication protocols, all were being reimagined through Ari's unique perspective. The Zorn Research Collective, who had once abandoned Ari as a failed experiment, now watched with growing alarm. Humans had done what they considered impossible. They had seen potential where others saw only limitation. HFY understood the deeper significance of their mission. This wasn't just about scientific discovery. It was about recognizing the extraordinary potential that exists in the most unexpected places. Ari's mechanical components pulsed with an inner light, creating complex visual narratives that told a story of resilience, of transformation, of hope. She had become a living bridge between biological potential and technological innovation. "We're writing a new chapter of galactic exploration," June said, watching the quantum interfaces dance with extraordinary complexity. The USS Resolve continued its journey, carrying not just a crew, but a living testament to human potential. Ari represented something more than a scientific breakthrough. She was a symbol of hope, of compassion, of the extraordinary possibilities that emerge when we choose to see potential instead of limitation. As stars drifted past their quantum windows, The team understood they were no longer just exploring space. They were exploring the very boundaries of what it means to be alive, to adapt, to transform. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its capacity to see beyond the obvious, to recognize potential in the most unexpected places. And in RE, they had discovered their most extraordinary journey yet. End of Part 5. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of this final section?